So in this lecture, we're going to learn about source control and specifically using Git to do our source control. So the basic idea behind source control is that as you're working on an app, you want to have, specific versions of your app at different points so that in case you go ahead and break something, you can always move back to a previous version. Or if you're working with multiple people, that other people can, have a version of your app that they're working on and then give you that version. You can sort of merge those two together. So the technology that we're going to be using is called Git. Now, Git is open source. It was created by the same person who created Linux. It's an awesome piece of software, and it's used by many, many different companies, and it's hosted on a bunch of different places. So the big ones that come to mind are Bitbucket and GitHub, but there are plenty out there. You can also run Git servers on your own machine, but we are going to be using a service called GitHub because Xcode has recently integrated GitHub into its IDE, and it makes it super easy to work with it and do version control on your apps. So go ahead first. We need to create a GitHub account if you don't have one already. So go ahead and open up Safari, and we are going to go to github.com. And I want you to go ahead and sign up for an account so that you have one to use. And if you already have an account, just go ahead and sign in. But this is completely free. And I just want you to think of GitHub as a place to store your code. It's almost quote unquote Dropbox or a Google Drive for your code so you can always access it. It's sort of up in the cloud. But more than that, you can have specific versions of your app. And that's where it becomes really magical. So go ahead and create your account or log in, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so once you've gone ahead and done that, you should see a screen something like this where you've been signed in. You might not have any repositories, especially this first time. I have a bunch in here from a bunch of different courses that I've done. So once you have all of this, let's go ahead and open up Xcode. And if we just go to Xcode up here at the top into Preferences, we want to add our GitHub account. So we're going to go ahead under Account, select this, and then do the plus button. Choose GitHub and add your account there. So you're going to have to go ahead and put in your account name and password. Go do that, and then we'll move forward. All right, once you've gone ahead and signed in, you should see under Source Control Accounts your name, whatever you have on GitHub. And once that's there, now we can start using GitHub with our code. So one thing that we can do very easily, if you just click Source Control here and click on Clone, it's going to give you the ability to take some of your existing repositories that you have and open them up. It will, download everything that you need to. So for example, in the past, I worked on a soundboard app. So I can go ahead and select this one, hit clone, and it's going to say, hey, where do you want to put this on your computer? I want to put it on the desktop. And if I hit clone, all of a sudden, boom, it's downloaded that code. Now it's open, ready to use. That's, pretty sweet how simple Apple has made this for us. But you're telling me, yo, I just signed up for a GitHub account. I don't even have one of these. Well, let me show you how you can use source control with a new project. So let's go ahead. I'm going to delete this soundboard one off the desktop there. We're going to create a new Xcode project just to test out. So let's do a single view app. We just want a really basic one, and we're going to call this GitHub Fun or whatever you'd like. Go ahead and hit next on that. I'm going to throw mine on the desktop. 3, 2, 1. All right, now we're all ready to rock and roll. So to give you a nice introduction into source control, basically with Git, you can make commits, and then you can push those to GitHub or another location to have your code saved and use previous versions of those. So if none of that made sense, don't worry, I'm going to walk you through all of it. So the idea with source control is it tracks different changes that you have. And one thing I want to make sure of is go to source control and do create Git repositories. If you get a message that this is already a Git repository, that means you're good to go. Usually whenever you make a new Xcode project, that's the case, but you just want to go ahead and check that. So as long as that's there, let's say on my view controller, I decide to do something like I'm going to say view.background color. I'm going to set you equal to UI color.blue. Okay, so this is new line of code that I added. If I hit save in Xcode, notice what shows up over here, this little M. And this M means that something has been changed in this file since I last did a commit. Yeah, you've probably seen that before, but did you know that was there? And it's telling us that means modified. So if we go up to source control here, I can say commit, and it's going to show me all the files that have changes in them. So for example, there's this one where it says, hey, in the previous version there was nothing here, but now there's this line that says view.background color is equal to this new UI color blue. So we could commit this if we wanted to, but we're not going to yet. I'm going to hit cancel. I'm going to show you and some other files what could happen here. So let's say in the app delegate, for example, you know, I no longer want some of this commented code here at the top. So I'm just going to delete that, and it should just start with import UI kit. Okay. So if I go ahead and make those changes and hit save, now if I go back to source control and do a commit, you can see there's another modified M there. Now if I go to commit, look, there's the two different files that have changes. So it's saying in this one, you deleted this chunk of code, and now it just shows up like this, and it's saying in this one, you've added this piece of code. So let's say I want to take these two changes and commit them. The way you can choose whether or not something's going to be committed is by these checkboxes here. And anytime you commit, you have to add a message. So I might just say some basic changes here. And if I do this, I hit commit to files, it will commit that to the Git repository. So I can keep doing this and see all the different things here, but this really doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless we're actually saving this somewhere so that we can actually use these different commits of code. So to do that, we'd want to do a push, but first we have to create a GitHub repository for this project. So we're going to go up to Safari, okay, and open up GitHub one more time, and we're going to create a new project. So I'm going to click on new repository here, and we've got to give it a name. I'm going to call this one GitHub Fun. All right. For a description here, I'm going to say just playing around with GitHub. Okay. Now you can choose whether you want it to be public or private. The public ones are free. If it's private, you have to pay money for that. So you can see as soon as I do that, poof, give us your credit card. So I'm going to keep this one as public. But you can go ahead and create a repository. Once you've done that, it's going to give you some options for about how to get this integrated with your code that you already have on your computer. So if you've done this before, you can do this from the command line, and this really isn't all too bad. So we're going to open up terminal here. And in this course, you've had a little bit of experience working with the terminal here. So the first thing that we've got to do is we've got to get to where our project is. So if we do an ls, that shows where we currently are, and this is showing, hey, there's your desktop, your download. So I'm going to say cd to change directory into this desktop. So I'm going to do capital D for desktop, and if I hit tab, we get that nice autocomplete. So now I'm on the desktop. If I hit ls, oh, look at that, there's our GitHub Fun. So I'm going to say cd capital GitHub Fun. There we go. Now I'm inside there, and I'm just going to add the code that we have here. So I'm going to copy this for git remote add, paste that inside and hit enter. All right. Then I want to do a push just like we have here. So we're going to come back to the terminal, hit enter on that. It's going to ask, do you want this to use your keychain? We're going to say yes, always allow, and boom, that's going to throw up our project. So if we reload this page now that we've uploaded the code, here you can see our GitHub project. Right, here's the different files, and what's really cool is if you come to this page now, you can see all the different commits. So if I come back to the GitHub Fun main page here and I click on commits, you can see the two different times. So there was the initial commit, that's when the project was created. But remember this name that we gave? Some basic changes here. We can click on this. It shows the same sort of things that were taken away here, this spot where things were added, and it's just sort of all here. And if we ever have an issue, we need to get back to a specific version of our code, we can get to it here. So I just want you to notice that this will work with Xcode now. So let's go ahead and make another change. And let's say in our view controller, I don't want the background color to be blue, I want it to be yellow. Well, I can go ahead and change that, hit save. Look, that M appears one more time. So before I can push this to the GitHub.com, I need to first commit it. So I'm going to say commit, and for the commit message, I'm going to say I changed the color. Okay, and I'm going to commit that one file. Now you can see it's no longer modified because we're on this new version, and then I want to push this. So I'm going to click the push button, and it's going to say, do you want to push this to origin/master? And that's the only one that we have, so we're going to hit push. And it'll take a second to throw things up there, but it says push successful. And now, if we go back to the main page here, you can see there's 3 commits. And it's telling us, this file inside of here was just changed 19 seconds ago. If I go to the commits, I can see I changed the color. It's showing how it went from blue to yellow. So there's so much more that you can learn with Git, all the ways that you can, move back in time to a particular commit if you want to, how to work with a team on that. But I just wanted you to see the basics and how you could work this out in the new Xcode 9. It's really awesome stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Next thing that we're going to be working on is in-app purchases. Yeah, let's go make some money. Let's go dive into it in the next lecture.